Hi there, it's Vanessa from Cove, and you're listening to the 89th edition of The Networker. This week's edition kept circling back to a question that's uncomfortable but worth sitting with. How much of what we call a system, a process, or a department is actually just a stand-in for a relationship nobody built? So let's dive in. We open with a piece from the Cove blog on some blunt advice from NYU professor Scott Galloway. His claim, backed by the hiring data, is that about 70% of the time, the person who gets the job isn't the most qualified candidate in the pile. It's the one with an internal advocate. Referrals make up only around 6% of applications, but account for roughly 37% of hires. Credentials get you filtered into the shortlist. They don't get you the offer. Someone in the room saying your name when you're not there to say it yourself does. And you can't build that relationship the week you start job hunting. Next, Entrepreneur ran a piece from a former stage magician that I found genuinely useful, even outside of sales. After 25 years performing, he learned that a trick never lands if the audience wasn't already on your side before the reveal. Most pitches skip straight to the ask, assuming the audience is already paying attention. They're not. The 60 seconds before the ask, earning trust, then building curiosity, is what makes the reveal feel like a natural next step instead of a leap nobody signed up for. Next up, Fast Company published something close to a full audit of the HR profession, and it's worth reading in full if you have the time. 20 years after their original Why We Hate HR cover story, more than half of employees still say the department adds little or no value. 91 executives, including 66 CEOs, offered fixes. Give HR a real seat at the leadership table. Tie its scorecard to actual business outcomes. Some even suggested renaming the function entirely. What struck me is that the same complaint from 2 decades ago is still the loudest one. HR still can't prove its work moved the business forward. Moving on, Forbes covers research on active listening that lands harder than it sounds like it should. Workers now spend almost 4 hours a day communicating, yet fewer than 1 in 5 say they get a meaningful response when they raise an idea. 41% of people who left a job cited not feeling listened to as the reason. Active listening isn't silence or agreement. It's asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what you actually heard, and resisting the urge to jump straight to a solution before you've understood the problem. Entrepreneur also ran a piece making a case I don't hear often enough. Most communication problems on a team aren't personality clashes. They're systems problems. A team with no shared rules for what belongs in chat, email, or a meeting stays confused no matter how good everyone's intentions are. The 90-day reset outlined maps communication flow first, then upgrades meeting structure, then builds feedback loops that actually stick. It replaces assumption with structure. We close the articles with a piece from the conversation asking whether you can actually buy friendship through paid social clubs like Time Left and Eat With. These are growing fast as people trade screens for structured, real-world connection. But the research complicates the promise. One study found that the number of social interactions someone has isn't significantly linked to loneliness. Emotional closeness is. A calendar full of curated events can leave you feeling lonelier than ever if none of those relationships ever get the chance to deepen. Before we wrap up, let's turn to this week's recommendations. Our book of the week is The Relationship Advantage by Barb Betts. Her argument is direct. The real competitive edge was never working harder. It's connection. Drawing on more than 2 decades building a multi-million-dollar business, she introduces what she calls the VVR factor, visibility, vulnerability, and relatability, as the foundation for trust that actually holds. The book pushes past surface-level networking into the deeper work of connection, starting with the relationship most people skip first, the one with themselves. And our podcast of the week is Beyond AI, Wisdom at Work, with an episode called Don't Let Technology Be the Leader. The core argument is that AI adoption is a leadership challenge before it's a technology challenge. Organizations often measure success by usage, who's logging in and how often, when usage was never the same thing as value. Without a clear purpose for why AI is being deployed, it creates fear and shallow adoption instead of better work. It's a sharp conversation about the difference between intelligence and wisdom, and about who actually gets to decide which one wins. That's all for the 89th edition of The Networker. The thread this week is that systems and technology can only take you so far before a relationship has to do the rest of the work. The advocate who speaks for you in the room. The trust earned before the pitch. The department that still can't prove its value because nobody built the relationships that would prove it. The listening that no amount of communication tools can replace. None of it is complicated. All of it requires someone to actually do it. Until next time, stay connected, stay deliberate, and remember, your network isn't defined by how many people you reach. It's defined by how intentionally you build. And don't forget, the full edition of The Networker is waiting for you in your inbox. I'll see you next time.